Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're here obviously today to discuss what I view as a failure in leadership, both in terms of trying to pass the state budget as well as the lack of leadership and really disrespect for the process in individuals. Troy Jackson is one of the hardest working people I know. There's no one really that works harder than the people in Maine up here. And I just think it's a real disappointment in terms of what we saw today from our governor. It's a lack of leadership. We don't condone that on the schoolyard. We don't condone that at the kitchen table. And surely we shouldn't condone that from our governor. At this point, we want to make sure we open it up and allow you to ask any questions that you so choose. But this is just a real disappointing day.
Senator Jackson.
Well, I don't really know how to start, but I mean, I guess for me, I haven't been on board with the governor's taking away retirement benefits from state workers. I do support people getting cheap health care, affordable health care. I mean, everything that I know is about supporting working class people and small businesses, which I think I do rather well. It's why I came to Augusta. I don't think I have a black card. I think most people know that my heart is really quite good. That's probably what I think most people like me about. I don't have a lot of other great qualities, but I think my heart is actually pretty good. And as far as I'm concerned, what the governor said, I haven't actually seen it, but it's been paraphrased to me. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I've had a lot of people say nasty things about me in the past when they don't agree with my stance. That's okay. I mean, that's democracy. But I do think it's inappropriate. The way he said it. We can be disagreeable without making nasty comments like that. And I just think it's unfortunate that the man that is supposed to be the leader of our state makes comments like that. I mean, I just think it's inappropriate. But personally, what's in my heart, it doesn't bother me that anyone would say that about me. I mean, I got a pretty thick skin. Things like that roll off pretty easily. And I've had other people that I thought were higher positions than him that said things that were probably worse than that. So I'm okay with it, but I just think it's very inappropriate for the governor to say that about anyone in the state.
And you've used the phrase at least twice that I've heard referring to him as delusional. Do you mean that in the true sense of the word?
Well, what I don't understand is when you make like today comments about Democratic leadership not ever wanting to meet with them and stuff like that. When we bent over backwards, I mean, for the first couple of months, he wasn't willing to meet with us at all. I just don't understand those comments. I mean, they're just not true. And call them delusional or what? I mean, they're not accurate. And that seems to happen a lot. I do think that that's an accurate statement, because you can't sit there and say that we haven't tried to meet with them. Senator Alfond has tried extremely hard. On Monday they had a meeting that the governor didn't show up at, so it just kind of struck me when he said that we're not willing to meet with them to deal with this budget. That's just not true.
The governor feels that he's been targeted by you in various ways throughout the session, probably before the session. He brought up a bill that I believe you sponsored to take away suspension or being oversimplifying it. You've been certainly critical of, I remember going around home TV, I think that went on a few weeks ago. Do you feel like you were one of the Democrats who was in the lead of criticizing him, and to some degree, while his comments are offensive to you, maybe it's appropriate that he would respond directly to you like he did today?
Well, again, I don't have any problem with anyone saying anything about what I stand for. I mean, I feel very comfortable where I stand for people in the state of Maine. He can say whatever he wants. I just think that it's inappropriate the way he said it. But, in coming up with retirement, I think that is exactly the point. I mean, I do not agree with taking away retirement benefits from people that did nothing wrong, that signed on the dotted line. And so the bill that I put in that regard was just making the point that the only person in the state of Maine that didn't get affected was the governor by these retirement cuts. I didn't think that was actually inappropriate. I mean, it didn't pass, but that was, you know, just one of the things that we disagreed on. Taking away retirement benefits to working class people, not giving health care to 70,000 Mainers, you know, continually advocating to take away working class people's rights, be it union or non-union. Those things I don't agree with. I mean, I'm never going to. When I have to start going down that road, then I shouldn't be in the legislature anymore.
Did you hear he said something along the lines that we should go back into the woods and let people with brains work on this problem?
Well, I know that, you know, because I don't know if it's where I'm from or the way I speak or something like that, that comes up that, you know, maybe I'm not the smartest guy, and I don't really know if I am or not, but I think what I do is right. I think the things that I'm trying to do for my district, the people support. Maybe I am the country bumpkin, but that doesn't bother me. I mean, again, what's in my heart is good, and I'm very comfortable with that. I'll go back in the woods anytime that I have to. Unfortunately, the governor's been advocating to have foreign labor replace me for all the time that he's been in office, so that's one of the reasons why I'm down here fighting. And I mean, that's where I made my name in my district, was on that issue. And I mean, I feel very, very comfortable that my district supports my stand on that issue. And it's, you know, again, not to bring in a personal thing, but it's just incredibly, the governor of the state of Maine supports bringing in foreign workers to displace Maine loggers. And those are small businessmen. That's not even labor, that's small business.
Senator Jackson, you mentioned this logging issue, and it seems like this relationship you have with the governor, or lack thereof, sort of goes back to that logging issue. You just care to comment about that?
Well, the governor is upper management, and I'm working class. The governor ran a mill in Canada, believes getting inexpensive wood to those Canadian mills. I mean, that's just, I think, fact. He's a member of the Maine Forest Products Council. They all support bringing in foreign labor to depress wages in the logging industry. You know, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just something I'm categorically against, and like I said, that's, I think, why I get elected for the most part, or at least initially. I'm never going to change my stand on that. You know, that's been a family tradition. That's what's in my heart and soul. So, I mean, and I think that you see the legislature continually pass these issues too, because I mean, we are elected by Maine people. So why we want to advocate to have other people come in here? I mean, I'm all for immigration, people coming into the state and sitting down putting down roots and the tax base increasing, things like that. But and this issue here, what we have is big business coming out of Canada, coming in and replacing Maine workers, and I just can't ever agree to that.
Can we check on the phone and see if there's someone on the phone with a question?
Anyone on the phone would like to ask a question?
Yeah, hi, it's Greg Kessich. Can you hear me?
Yes.
To what extent do you think this is mentionable by the governor to change the conversation, lead the argument back and forth, maybe also public involvement about the budget on the right.
Did everyone hear that? The question I was paraphrasing is Greg Kessich from the Press Herald said, to what extent do we believe this is an intentional act by the governor to in essence, change the conversation and pull Republicans back from potentially their current position? I'd have to have, this is Seth Gregg, I'd have to have you ask the governor that question. Clearly, the governor, that's a good point. Press Herald I'll try. Well, Chris Cousins from the Bangor Daily's here. Maybe he can ask him. Look, we passed a budget last week out of the Appropriations Committee that was unanimous, and we have a strong tradition in doing that here in the legislature by sitting down, working together, and finding solutions. And it's clear that the Republicans value that effort here in the legislature, and we're confident we're going to have the votes. And this budget that the governor originally proposed was a massive tax hike, And he can't deny that, despite him trying to over and over again. We have the opportunity to move Maine forward next week by coming together, casting our votes, and making the government run well. The governor is opposed to that. He's clearly indicating that he wants to have a shutdown, and that's just a lack of leadership and extremely disappointing. And we have a budget in front of us that I'm confident Democrats and Republicans will vote on in a way that will override a veto if it comes. He has yet to even veto the budget. If he's going to do it, he should do it, and we look forward to overriding him next Wednesday.
You've said over and over again you have the votes. What will the tally be? I mean, do you have it to that degree where you got a list of who's going to override the veto? I mean, by how much?
Well, of course, we don't know the specific numbers, but we know, we've heard that the Republican leadership is confident that their members of their party are going to vote. Today in the paper, Senator Cate said failing to keep the shop open would be a failure. I couldn't agree more. Not only are we going to keep the shop open, we're going to increase funding in education and make improvements. And some of the initiatives that the governor proposed themselves. And we've seen a strong tendency for a handful of very thoughtful Republicans in the Senate to vote along with many moderate, well thought out proposals, whether they be individual pieces of legislation or that are smaller or larger ones. And we're confident on the budget, we're going to have those votes.
Do you think the governor knows that you guys have the votes to override the veto and is sort of used this today as a stunt, or?
Well, I don't know about the comments about me, but I think the rally or whatever was the Tea Party supporters. I think that was. I think he thinks that he maybe lost control of this, and he's trying in some desperate way to get it back. The fact is that like Senator Goodall said, we worked with Republican leadership. We passed a unanimous budget of appropriations. It's not what either side wanted in a perfect world, but it is a compromise. Everywhere around the nation, people talk about wanting people to get together to compromise. And we did that on like the biggest bill, the hardest bill that we have. And we're working to keep the state going so that working class people, small business, big business, all have the services that they're going to need. And for whatever reason, the governor wants to stand in the way of that. I mean, we're the ones that are building consensus, and he seems to be trying to drive a wedge between that. I'm very hopeful, and I feel very comfortable that the people that voted for the budget in the past are going to be there if he does choose to veto it. And that's the one thing about I think that being in Augusta has taught me. I served on the labor committee for a number of years, and you have to get together with the other side. You have to listen to them and try and come to consensus, and we did that with this budget. That's why when I stood on the floor and said that this is probably the most proud vote I've ever taken, I meant it. I don't necessarily like everything in it, but when you can get people around the table and agree, that's always a good thing, and we did that.
So we have 2 more minutes. I'd like to keep it to the phone again, just because they're at a bit of a disadvantage today.
Would anyone on the phone like to ask a question?
Actually, guys, I get out this idea of continuing budget resolution. I'm not working for it before, or everybody was naive, but is that even possible on the deadline?
The question is, and who was that? Steve? Scott Thistle. The question was, is it possible to even do a continuing resolution? The Constitution requires us to have a balanced budget each year. We think it's highly unlikely, but the real question is, why do we even need it? We have a budget pending. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a vote, and that's the vote we're going to take. But the governor, it really appears to be proposing things that are unconstitutional. Rather than trying to meet with us and actually sit down and understand the differences, or just accepting the fact that we're going to override him, he's proposing scenarios that are just unrealistic.
That's interesting. Is there any, given that this has been going on for some time and the behavior seems to be escalating, is there any motion to try to censure the governor by the legislature?
It was Gina Hamilton from the New Maine Times. Is there any effort to try to censure the governor? We're focused on doing our work. We're focused on doing the people's business and getting a budget passed. the governor clearly likes to play games. Unfortunately, he also has a tendency now to start insulting people. We're not focused on that. We're focused on making sure we get people's work done. That's our job right now.
I have one final question on that J field with MPB. Should voters in the state be left with the impression that there are absolutely no limits on political discourse at the state capitol?
When you're here in the legislative side, there's a lot of discourse. We disagree, and we should. We should have vigorous debate. That's a good thing for our state. But we have utmost respect for every member of this legislature. It's really unfortunate that the governor doesn't, and hopefully the people will speak at the next election in regards to that.
I just say on that, I mean, I end up in Senator Case's office, Senator Thibodeau's office all the time, and they come over to mine. I mean, we work together well, like Senator Goodall said. I mean, we disagree on a lot of things, but I don't find it's personal, and they haven't held anything personal against us. So I mean, we have a great relationship. That's why you see that we have a budget that's going to have 2/3 vote. So.
Thank you.